The man named Chang had me sit in a seat away from one of the windows as he looked nervously outside. I could see flashing police lights reflecting off the inside of the cabin in his face. One unknown, but I dare say had the familiarity of a movie star. Like Dracunin, he was sharply dressed in dark pants and almost like a workman's jacket, but a little more bohemian. His fine pants were tied with what looked like a fine rope. It reminded me of Leona's ribbon or her braids, though without those captivating colors. We drove on the tarmac for quite a while. It felt like we were going the length of the entire airport. Finally, he motioned for me to disembark with him. For a moment, I looked anxiously behind me to see if I'd forgotten something. But I had my bunny bag, and there was only Parker's absence, some beer bottles, and the memory of the boy in my dream. "What a life," said the voices. We got off and into the back of a tinted car. We drove a little more, out a gate, and then onto a highway interchange. Finally, not too long off an exit, a suburban neighborhood, luxurious, through some double-gated automatic doors and into an underground parking. The whole time, Chang looked lost in thought, smiled at me a little, but otherwise looked on the edge of saying something. "Cat got your tongue," said the voices, but mostly they were listening. I dare say curiously invigorated. Through the garage we got out, and the driver got out as well. He was large, larger than Harry, and not friendly looking. He offered, or rather demanded, to take my bag, and I refused, and he was about to counter my resistance, but Chang interceded, and we went through, rather quickly, into the home. A long kitchen, next to it a window and a clear glass door to what looked like an underground lap pool. Chang heated up some water, made some tea. He sat at the little corner booth table and motioned for me to have a seat. He poured us both a cup, got out a plate and some cookies.
Okay, well, here we are. Welcome, I should say. I've gone back and forth about how to start this. You are a wise man, Mr. Nettlevicious. In comparison, I am a fool. So honestly, I feel embarrassed by what I'm about to say, but I'll hope and I'll pray you find me truthful. That is to say, I am truthful, and I hope you'll see that. If you don't, well, gosh, already I'm off to a bad start.
Yes, well, that all depends. Perhaps you can tell me in plainest terms who you are, if I'm being held prisoner, where is Parker. That'll suffice to start. Chang was not one to blink much, so we had looked into each other's eyes enough for me to confirm that he was not one of us. A vampire, I mean. But there was still a quality to him, more urgent
Again,
than most.
My name is Chang. I was born in San Francisco in the U.S. I'm a businessman. My dealings would take too long to go into. Honestly, I inherited a lot of wealth. And I'm not some self-made man. That's why I found the RUS, actually. God, and no, you are not a prisoner. But I'm here to help you. But first to the RUS. Now, it's a lot more complicated than even those of us who are involved can quite explain. But the RUS is in a bit of a disarray at the moment. Fault lines, that is to say. We're not entirely certain who we'd say is in charge. The one who was, well, is no more. And Parker, well, I'm very sorry, but for me and you to be here, we needed Mr. Parker to be handed over. He's with the authorities. Probably would be out in a matter of days knowing him, but if not, well, that's not for me to say, unless in my capacity to control. Now, whether Parker was leading you into a trap into the arms of some of the other less well-meaning RUS, that's not for me to say either. Perhaps not, but whether by negligence or intent, that's where you were headed, if I hadn't interceded just now. Anything I can answer yet?
And so, your driver, may he drive me back to the airport? I'd very much like to be on my way, if you please.
Yes, well, no, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm your best hope as to a buffer between those threats and yourself. And the more we can talk, the more I can guarantee, well, your safety, but also perhaps a trip out. Eventually, that is.
I see. Are we in a hurry? If I'm to be a guest, as it were, perhaps I could bother you with a room then, Mr. Chang. I do want to hear more about what you have to say, but I'm tired. Jet-lagged, as I've heard they say. Chang took a sip of tea, slightly in some mysterious self-defeat. I almost caught him blushing. Again, he took just a minuscule moment to think, as if he were going to refuse me, call in the big brute of a driver and begin pummeling me, but instead, he got up and led me through a hallway, up some stairs and into a large bedroom, impeccable but mostly sterile and white, with a single striking hanging tapestry of a dragon.
Well,
he lit the adjoining bathroom.
Intercom here. If you need anything, you're not a prisoner. Nothing is locked here. You can find your way back to the kitchen. Use the pool if you'd like. There are bathing suits in the cupboards, or however you like, and I do hope you'll let us know if you have the urge, the desire to go somewhere. Ultimately, I'm not trying to stop you. I simply would like to talk before you do. Now, hopefully I've been clear. I apologize if I said anything to confuse you further. Anyway, rest well. Good night.
Cripes, I thought, as Chang shut the door. When a vampire is not in touch with their instincts, our default is to give ourselves more time in any situation. Time, after all, is deeply relative to us. Parker was not wrong about that, as described by Leona. We do move differently throughout the world, especially around humans. If anything, we hate to be rushed. This can be a problem sometimes. What had Parker rambled on about? Was he a brilliant deductive psychoanalyst or just another talented fool? I appreciated that he saw us or attempted to see us, and I was sorry that he had been detained by the authorities, but he was rubbing me the wrong way as well. I wasn't long on trust these days. Despite everything we'd been through, I didn't even trust myself much better at times. This was one of those times. I stared at the tapestry of the dragon, a Chinese dragon, red and orange with some purple, very alive still in their present mythology. They painted them often like they were gods, but mad gods, mad as in slightly crazy, possessed by something. Of course, a magical dragon, but there was something kinetic in the way that they were painted, as if there was a message behind it. I think sometimes it is for protection. The son of the dragon spoke of his origin, our origin as being one of protection, protection from a dark force. Or was it becoming a dark force? I thought of the little dragons I once manifest, how they protected the daughter of my patron. I mostly wanted to avoid talking more with Chang because my thoughts were a little jumbled, and so, quite unlike me, I felt like counseling myself to sleep. I would think better after some sleep. This room reminded me of that room at the end of that Kubrick film somewhat. It had that lighting style, only a little less exaggerated. Oh, why could I not be in the south of France with paints and an easel right now? Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids, said one of the voices. They were a little mad these days themselves, the voices. Mad as in crazy. Well now, maybe I need to manifest this dragon. Maybe I need to find the powers for this dragon. Had I tried before, other than unintentionally with my own art and unconsentingly in the gallery with the technology? Yes, in a way, with the mural and Woundsocket. But instead of losing control, I had concentrated on gaining as much as I could. Of accepting my talents for what they were, that was the best way I could put it. I took off my boots and sat crisscrossed on the bed and looked over the dragon. This was no dragon. This was a man, or a woman, a person who had painted it some years ago. They felt great pressure to do so. They needed money to buy their family food. They perhaps rushed the background a little, I do not know. It is stylistic perhaps. But the dragon's face is wonderfully proportioned. It captures the spirit of a dog almost, its eyes almost human. It is a wonderful thing to paint something so fearsome and yet it to feel whimsical, a spirit of kindness even. It was painted for a great ruler, I think. One that lived on the edge of the knife, between frightening their subjects and bestowing blessings on them. A once-in-a-millennia ruler, but what did I know? I was just free associating. The dragon remained unmoved. Poor Simon. Had our going into the RUS library triggered something or someone? Had he caused the damage in his home out of self-defense, or were we dealing with dangerous, violent types? I think it pointed to Simon defending himself. Again, I thought of the coffin box going into the underground, but also the mention of meeting someone, love at first sight. This was all just pointless detective work. It had been better to leave. I just wish I'd thought twice before getting in the plane with Parker. I am too susceptible to willful types, too unwilling to understand that no one knows what they are doing. I always believed Agatha had a sense of what was going on, a sense to keep us safe, yes. And so she did, and so again that did make me feel like I'd never find that kind of decisiveness, that I was deficient, that I was nothing except as a vehicle for artistic expression. Even that was a Sisyphean task, as pointless as a snake eating itself by its tail. I laid my head down on the pillow. The children need a home.
I needed a home, a real one.
That's something the boy had said, but also Gree.
If you seek to challenge the two, you must create something better. Only what is better than everlasting life?
They both said the same thing. Now the boy was starting to appear to me as not a boy, but something more, nameless like Dracunin. What children? Our kind. We need a place to live in this world, is that it? In all our perverted glory, for those who want to pray and drink blood, and should I judge those who do? Would I give my life if I needed it to survive? I pressed a button by the headboard, and the lights dimmed slowly, like in some of those modern movie theaters I would occasionally go to in Boston. Very soothing, just almost silent. The dragon still had an illumination from somewhere, but then it dimmed as well, as if it were the last to wish me good night. Soon, it will be Halloween, said one of the voices. The other voices laughed. I will see a shrink soon if you don't stop, I told them. They were unamused. I will tell you how it goes.